Well, good morning and welcome to Brekkie with the Guy Who Sews. Today is the 21st of September. I think it's the official start of fall, either yesterday or today. I don't know. It changes every year based on the solstice. And if you're outside the US and Canada, you probably call it autumn, which is what I'm used to. But I've been in America now for 20 some years, so I'm kind of starting to learn the American lingo. Anyway, I have my friend here, Tasha from Tasha Quilts. She is a brand new guest, has not been on before, and it's her very first live. So be kind to her. I know you will be, but just be kind. No, she's going to have a great time, and I think she's going to do a really awesome job. I don't have any doubts in my mind that we're going to have a wonderful time here with Tasha. So I'm going to turn it over to her real quick, just let her introduce herself, tell us a little bit more about her channel and what she plans to do, because she's just been doing this a little while, and I thought it'd be fun to bring her on and just let her get some exposure, hopefully some new subscribers and viewers. So over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I am Tasha, and my channel name is very original, Tasha Quilts, because I like to talk about quilts. Right now, I have a lot of shorts over on my channel, and I'm starting to do some long form video. And kind of what I'm hoping to do with my channel is kind of bring you along on my quilting journey. So, when I'm making my projects, I kind of just like to share my process and how I adapt and what I'm making. And I share glimpses of my life and how I manage quilting with my two little kids. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. So quilting for me looks a little different some days, as I juggle children and quilting. So, yeah, thank you very much for having me. And that's me.
Oh, not a problem. And I think you and I have a very similar focus for our channels, because that's kind of like me. I have on my podcast, join me on my quilting adventures, and that's what it is. Like, you come and see what I make. For the very, very most part, I make exactly what I want to make. I'm not sponsored by a bunch of companies, so I do have that freedom to be able to make whatever I want, so which is really, really nice. I have a bunch of friends that have joined us this morning, which is really nice. And last week we tried roll call because people hop in before the live and start chatting, and it's fantastic. But the downside to that for me, because I'm ADD, undiagnosed, of course. Is that I miss people. So we got to do roll call as soon as I find the right, where is it? There it is. Okay, so for anyone that wasn't here last week, what this is that this is your opportunity now to go ahead and say hi in the chat. Let me know that you're here and what state or country you're watching from. So that way I can say good morning or good evening or good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're in, without missing anyone. So I know my friend Chris from Sew to Distance is here, along with Handmade from Bai Ying with Donna. Feel free to throw your channel name in as well. Should be exclamation point and your first name. Okay, Mike, good morning. It's good to see you. Joy here says hi from North Carolina. Tasha says good morning and just sub to Charles's channel. And the closed caption should be on for you this morning. I made sure that earlier in the week as well. Good morning, Deb Esther Pug, Mum Quilter. I'll get that right one of these days. Tessa House is here from Georgia. Janine is from Central New York. Melanie Taylor is here. Good morning to Liana from Pastry Queen's Farm Adventures. Good morning, Fallon. It's good to see you. Dragonflies for Donna, and Donna from Handmade by Ying were my two first viewers this morning, so congratulations for that Bragging Rights Award. Let's see, Bettina Fink is here. She said she's also just subscribed to you as well, Tasha. So yeah, we should hopefully see a bunch of new subs for you today. Laurie Colgan says good morning from Forest, Virginia. Good evening to Catherine from Tasmania. Kansas is here with us as well. Nancy, good morning to you. And I think I caught everybody. So
I saw someone from Central New York, and I am from Central New York. So I am from right outside Syracuse, to whoever just said they were from Central New York.
That was Janine, and she is a lovely lady. I got to meet her in person earlier this year over at QuiltCon. Which is, and I forget what part. I think she's up closer to Albany, but don't quote me on that. I could be very, very wrong. And please feel free to correct me, Janine, if I'm wrong. Anyway, so this morning's live is going to be a little bit abbreviated. We'll probably wrap up about 9 o'clock Eastern. So we got to try and get through as much as we can in the time that we have, because I need to get my hair cut. And my haircut that was scheduled for 10:30 got pushed forward to 10. It's a 30-minute drive. So we need to wrap it up about 9 o'clock. So anyway, what did we bring? We got another Leanna's from Woodstock, New York area as well. So you've got plenty of Central New York folks to hang out with you as well. And then Mike from New York Beauty, I believe, is in Staten Island, if I remember correctly, one of my other good friends who is not here with us this morning. Amber is from I think the Bronx, if I remember correctly. So yeah, lots of New Yorkie friends, which is awesome as well. Okay, Janine says she's in Baldwinsville. Okay, so
We're very close, Janine. We could be sewing together some Saturday morning. We are so close.
Yes, there you go. So that is awesome. Okay, so what am I working on today? I am working on The Wizard of Oz. I've been working on this thing since the dawn of time, it seems like. But I am going to go ahead and attach the last few borders on it. I don't know if I'll get it all done this morning, but we'll get as much as we can done. Last week, if you watched the podcast, you saw the side borders. And now we're going to attach the top and the bottom and then the outside borders. So there we go. All right, Nadine. Okay. Okay, she's teaching us French. I know bonjour. I know some simple French. I am trying to learn French, but it's a very long process, and I can read it a whole lot better than I can say it. I'm not going to do it online because I'm just going to embarrass myself and probably upset every French person that I know. And I like Nadine too much to try and embarrass, to offend her here on the channel as well. So there we go. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, and then what did you bring this morning to work on?
So I am, I don't know how many of you out there are like this, but like I just start projects based off, whim. Oh, that looks so cute and I need to try it. So I've been in English paper piecing, but of course I just can't be, normal about it. I have to be extra. So I am starting to do a curved EPP piece because I love curves, as you can kind of see behind me. So this is not going as well as I had hoped, but it's not terrible. So I am working on my curved EPP. English paper.
It looks good to me. And curves kind of scare me. Well, traditional curves. Yeah, if I do curves, it's going to be applique. That works pretty well for me. But yeah, I think it's really, really neat. Okay, so Janine says there's a quilt show today in Onondaga, and I'm probably butchering that name.
Onondaga.
Do you know about?
Yes, Janine, please go. If you look at my my YouTube channel, my short yesterday, I have 3 quilts in that quilt show in Onondaga. I'm not going to be there today. I was there all day yesterday, but oh my gosh, if you go and you can take a selfie with one of my quilts, I would literally die.
Okay, I was going to ask about the quilt show. I did not realize that was the same show, so that is awesome. Yes, go check out Tasha's channel. Let me go ahead and throw the link in. You can either put !Tasha or !Guest. Take your pick. It's going to take you to the same place. But yeah, she does have 3. I didn't realize it was 3 quilts. I knew there was 2. I guess I must have fallen asleep during the short.
I forgot to put the third one in.
Okay. But she did put 2 quilts in. They look absolutely beautiful. You need to go check those out. It's a lot of fun. And I'm so proud of you because this is your first quilt show, correct?
Yes, it's through the local quilt guild that I joined about a year ago, I want to say now, when I kind of got back into quilting. And so I think there's like a fan favorite, but it's not like a judged show. So it was pretty easy for me to enter. I wasn't too nervous about entering. And it's a wonderful little show that they have going on there, Janine. Like they have it's at I can't remember the type of church, but they have a lot of like really specific foods that they're selling, like from the ethnicity, and they're really tasty, and it's just, and a lot of beautiful quilts there. It'll be a good time if you head out. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. I will do that.
Yeah. Remind me of that afterwards because I'm going to forget between now and then. But yeah, I will give you her number because Donna has this fun group of ladies that chat and that sort of thing there, and you would fit in with them like a pea in a pod. So just remind me of that because my short-term memory is absolutely horrendous. Or Donna, if you don't hear from her,
I'll find you.
Find me, but definitely get in touch with her. She's a lot of fun. So that is awesome. Okay, it's a Greek Orthodox church. Okay, I've been up for 2 hours and some change already. I should be awake, but I only had 1 cup of coffee. So we got to go ahead and blame that. So there we go. All right, so I'm attaching this here. So there we go. So how long have you been quilting? You said you've taken a break, but so what, did you start as a young lady or a young girl and take a break and come back? Or
Well,
how did that story work?
yeah, so I started quilting back in 2015. So I was just having a rough time in life at that point. And as someone I used to work with at a hardware store was like, hey, I'm doing this quilting class. You should come. And I really had no idea what it was. And she was doing a mystery quilt. I jumped right in. And so I started she kind of gave me some of the basics and then I kind of just took it from there. I went crazy for a few years. And then in 2017, I had my first, I had my son. And then in 2020, I had my daughter. And so really once I quilted for like 2 years there between 2015 and 2017. And then once the kids came, it was, not happening. And so I want to say about a year ago today, my kids were old enough that they could be in my sewing room with me and not be, constant worry about them being injured. And I'm really into it. I'm slightly obsessed with quilting now. So I've been going at it.
You and me both.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I see so many people. It's really hard for me to keep up the chat. Like, this is my first live. So sorry if I'm not answering, but I see so many people saying they checked out my channel and subscribed, and that I just really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So thank you all. Thanks for the warm welcome. You guys are great.
Yeah, they are such a great audience. And that's one of the things that I love about getting up early on a Saturday morning and hanging out with each and every one of them, is just the audience is what makes it, like I love having my guests on, but it really is so much fun interacting with the audience, because that's what makes it, otherwise it'd just be kind of like, it wouldn't be the same. I guess it's hard to, put a finger on that. And yeah, absolutely slightly obsessed. I think you're with lots and lots of friends. I think I'm slightly obsessed. Like I have all the sewing t-shirts and I don't really talk about much else. So if you don't like quilting, I'm not going to be a friend for very long. It doesn't seem like. So there we go. Fallon said she had to take a break from quilting when her kids were young too. My sister's kind of like that too. She picked up quilting about 8 years ago. I think she saw me doing it and thought that'd be fun. Her and I get to sew together when she visits. But yeah, she's got 2 young kids. Her son is almost 4 and her daughter's almost 2. So yeah, she doesn't get to sew as much as she wants to. But I think once they get into school, she'll be able to pick it up again and do a lot more as well. Yeah, good question there, Stephen. He's asking, is it just me or is my live feed going blurry? I'm not seeing anything weird on my side, but it could be. Okay, so Donna from Dragonflies with Donna asked me to throw a poll up to see who is going to do a jelly roll project today, and that is a good question. So I've thrown the poll up, and it looks like we're about an even split right now. 53% are saying yes and 47 are saying no. So there we go. All right. Andrea says that her great-grandmother taught her how to quilt. She was in her 90s and I was about 8. We pieced on the treadle machine and hand quilted on the frame that's suspended from the ceiling when not in use. Okay. Good morning to Amy Dement. It's so good to see you. Yeah, so you may just need to refresh there, Stephen, because I think it looks like it may just be localized to you, or maybe your friends at Rogers Internet are misbehaving with you this morning. I don't know. Okay, so Catherine says she's never made a jelly roll project, and that's a good. How about you? Have you done a lot of jelly roll stuff, or not really?
No, I haven't done, because I really just kind of have gone where it takes me. And I skipped a lot of what I consider like basics, like traditional blocks and using a lot of pre-cuts. I do have some jelly rolls sitting on my shelf that I think were gifted to me. And so it's like on my to-do list to try a jelly roll quilt. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Fallon who just recently posted a video about an on-point jelly roll quilt. And I've also never done an on-point quilt. So I was like, maybe I will try her on-point jelly roll tutorial and I'll check 2 things off at once.
Okay, Andrea, the closed captions should be on. I can't change it now, but it should be on it. I'm so upset now. It turned off. I checked that before I turned this live on. I checked it at 7:45 this morning. It was turned on, and now it's turned off again. I am so sorry, and I can't fix that. Um, okay. There's nothing we can do. We just have to roll on. I'm so sorry, Andrea. I tried to turn the closed caption. You have to. There's a setting here that you have to turn the closed captions on for it to show up during the live, and I forgot to turn it on last week. That was totally on me. And I checked it 3 times throughout the week to make sure it was on, and somehow it turned off. So the closed captions will show up later on. If you are watching the replay, the closed caption should be an option for you. But if you are watching the live at the moment, unfortunately, there's not. I don't think there's anything I can do to fix it. Actually, let me check here in StreamYard just in case they have an option. Yeah. I don't like my chances, but we got to check it out. And we'll have to move on.
Does anybody have a favorite jelly roll pattern that they would recommend to people who haven't done one yet?
Yeah, that is an awesome idea because I've only done a jelly roll thing once, and I actually just bought the jelly roll to cut up and turn into a temperature quilt. I just bought it to fulfill a need, not to actually make a jelly roll. I do have a jelly roll, and I'm going to come up back to what Donna just said a minute ago. There is an event tonight at 6 o'clock over on So Becca's channel where Becca, Donna, Sassy Steph, I'll get it right in a minute, and myself will be making something to a jelly roll. I got gifted this jelly roll. It's all different grays.
Ooh.
I've had it now for, geez, I can't remember how many years now. My friend Stephanie over at Stephanie Stitches gifted it to me several years ago, and I said, one of these days I'm going to do something with it, and then one of those days is going to be this evening. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I'll figure something out. Come by at 6 o'clock tonight over at Becca's channel, find out what I'm up to with that one there. So there we go. Okay, Janine says she's done a Bargello quilt with 2 jelly rolls, and that was absolutely stunning. Bargello quilts are a great way to do to use jelly rolls for. And if you don't know what that is, go check out Donna's channel for that. It would be the place I would send you because she's done several of them, and they're absolutely stunning. Okay, Liana says, I just made up one on my live this morning. I can take notes. Okay, that is a good option. I'll have to do that. So there you go.
Oh, and it looks like Chris from Sew the Distance said she has one in her shop that only takes 1 jelly roll. She has a pattern in her shop called Roll With It.
Oh, so nice. Okay. I've got a couple of ideas on what I might do, but you'll have to come back at 6 and find out for sure of what comes through my little brain. So there we go. And then like you were saying earlier about she missed stuff in the chat, I do all the time too. I tell folks all the time I miss stuff. It's almost impossible to keep up, especially if you have more than like 10 people watching at once. And, but the audience is forgiving. And if I miss something, I just ask folks just to say, hey, Sean, can you answer this question? Don't be. Yes, it's 6 p.m. Eastern, Molly. I should have mentioned. I always talk at Eastern time. I should mention that because that's just the time zone that I'm in, and I just find it easier that way as well. Okay, Polly says, good morning, everybody. I am self-taught by a book before YouTube. Yeah, I am a YouTube university graduate, is what I like to say. I've never had a formal lesson, but I've learned from all my good friends at YouTube. So there we go. Okay, yeah, it never hurts to check there, Miss Molly. It's better off checking and asking the time before you figure it's 6 and then you turn up at 8 and totally miss it. That'd be sad. Okay, let's see. No, I did not want to insert an ad. Okay. All right. So what else has got going on this morning? We have several of my friends going live later in the day. My friend Donnell, I haven't seen her this morning, but she's going to go live at 10 o'clock Eastern this morning, along with Kathy from My Hobby Home, who I saw here just a few moments ago, and they're going to have a lot of fun. Russell's at 11, along with Tammy. Mum and Pop Quilt Shop will be live around 1 as usual, and she usually pops in for a little bit. Katie will be live at 4 over at the Green Length Quilter, and she's going to be testing Andrea's pattern, which has been a lot of fun watching that. And then 6 o'clock, come over to Becca's channel and watch us all have a lot of fun with our jelly rolls. And then Jean and Mike should be live at 8. And I think I caught just about everybody. Okay, let's see. What else we got going on here? Does anyone else in your family quilt or craft? Because you said you have 2 kids, and sometimes I see them in shorts. Have they picked up the craft, or are they just kind of watching what mom does?
Well, my daughter, who's 4, is definitely, well, if her eyes are open, she is right next to me. Generally, I actually had to lock the door to keep her out this morning. She's really into it. She likes to hit the scissor button on my machine, and now she's recently started doing the pedal for me when I'm sewing, which is a little scary. And she likes to help iron. Not really too many crafters in my family, but I guess with the aside of my dad, who and my stepmom, my dad's like really into woodworking, and he actually just reupholstered his car, so he was like sending me sewing pictures. And my stepmom, yeah, dabbles in a lot of stained glass, and I don't know, she does lots of stuff. She makes soap, and I'm probably gonna forget lots of the stuff they do. So those 2 are crafty. My mom used to sew like a lot of her scrubs and stuff. She doesn't do it too much more, but she came to the quilt show with me yesterday, and she's like dabbling on like, should I retire from her nursing job or not? And I was like, Mom, if you join me in quilting, you will never be bored. So just to let you know, like, and I have enough fabric to probably supply you through your retirement in your craft. So hopefully I will recruit my mom into the wonderful world of quilting, since she does have a sewing machine.
You could do a Mom and Me podcast as well. You know, that'd be a lot of fun. You could sit there and have a good chat and that sort of thing. There's something for you to think about later on.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Melanie Taylor says she's a YouTube graduate too. Okay, awesome. So that means I'm not alone. There's a lot of us, I think, that are YouTube graduates, which is nice. And then Polly Christopher says, good morning. Love catching you on this beautiful day. So thank you so much for tuning in, joining us. It's interesting you say stained glass too, because my dad, he still does it from time to time. But when I was younger, he was really, really big into doing stained glass. And he's actually done a few of the really big church windows. Like one of the ones he made for our local church back in Australia was, it was pretty big. It was like this shape, and it was probably like 10 foot by 10 foot. Obviously in this like arch shape thing, but that thing was stunning. Like he has a talent for stained glass. There's another lady that I had on a couple of years ago, Erica from Little Glass Quilts. She actually turns stained glass. She does stained glass, but turns it into like quilt blocks, like this. And that's a lot of fun. If you haven't seen her stuff, you need to go check out her channel, which is Little Glass Quilts, I believe. I hope I'm not butchering it.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun there as well. Okay, so Amy DeMent is a PBS graduate. She learned before the internet. So, okay. Yeah, a lot of people too, I think I've asked this question before, have said they've learned, with books or PBS and that sort of thing there. So it's interesting how we all learn. Like, I always thought people learned from
so
like grandmothers and aunts and stuff. Is that one of hers?
Yes. So this is the first quilt I ever designed. Actually, this is a pattern I'm writing, and maybe we'll have it out. But I designed it and sewed it, and then she made a stained glass of my first quilt that I designed for myself and made. So I just wanted to
that is awesome.
Brag on her a little bit. The best birthday gift.
Erica's a lot of fun. It's such a small world. It really is. If you ever get a chance, you need to go and watch my first trunk show video. I produced it 2 years ago, December, and she made this enormous quilt for the U.S. military. It hangs up in the, I think it's the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, if I remember correctly. But she she talks about that in great detail in that show. So I'll have to put the link to that once I find it again as well, because it was really nice talking to her about that. Okay, good. Thank you so much, Polly. She has joined the Friends of Jack, which is my paid membership. It's definitely optional. I always want to keep all my content free for everybody, but there is an option there for anyone that does want to join. It's the main perk we have for that right now is early access to some videos as well. So just, it's an option there if you want it, but please do not feel obligated. It is totally optional. It's an option there if you want to. Okay, let's see. Laurie says she took adult ed classes in PBS and my wonderful mother-in-law. Excellent. Okay. That's Jennifer. Yeah. And see, like one of my aunts quilted, but she lived in Sydney, so she was like 6 hours away. And I only ever saw one quilt from her that she gave to my sister. So yeah, really there was no quilters in my family. So it's nice that we have all these options these days. So that way, if you do want to try it, you don't have to rely on a family member or going to a class, because I don't think I'm confident enough to go to a class. I'm way too shy for that. Good morning, Donnell. It's good to see you. We were talking about you earlier. All good things, of course. We're talking about you and your upcoming live with Kathy. I hope I got that right. I hope it's Kathy today. I'm not, telling people lies. So good morning. Good morning. I am working on my order for the Wizard of Oz because I need to get some stuff done before we start our Winnie the Pooh project in a couple of weeks. Okay. All right. Let's see. So we've talked about that. All right. So here is a good question for you: what is your favorite thing about quilting?
Man, sometimes it's easier to pick your least favorite thing about quilting basting.
Okay, let's start with that. Okay, so we'll turn this off. What is your least favorite? Let's go with that. We'll give you a softball, and then we'll show you hardball baseball later on. How about that?
I think basting my quilts is my least favorite quilting task.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. I hate that. I will put it to the side. Like that's why I have 6,000 quilt tops, and if there's a basting theory somewhere, that'd be great.
And I think if I had to pick a favorite, the easy winner for me would just be like a chain piecing day. Like you have everything set up, cut, organized, and you can just sit there and sew for an hour without, just listen to some music and sew. Those are always my favorite days, chain piecing days. But I also really just like the dreaming up of what's the next project I'm going to take on, like searching through Pinterest, Instagram, designing something, just kind of the vision, the excitement of a new project. I really enjoy.
Yeah, that's okay. So let's do another poll. We're gonna have it's not Jelly Roll Day. It's gonna be poll day. Okay, so favorite, and I'm spelling it the correct way. The way the Queen did it with a U. Okay, favorite part of quilting. Let's see. We will do selecting fabric. I'm not going to get too much done today, but that's okay.
Keeping you busy.
Of course. Basting. Add option. Let's see. What's next? Basting. If we get anybody to vote for that, they're going to be my new best friend when I send everything. And then the other, I only have 4 options. Oh, okay. Well, we'll just put binding as well there. That's sad. I thought I had 5. Oh, well, anyway. Okay, so we have now put a new poll up, and it is going to say your favorite part of quilting is it going to be selecting a fabric, piecing, basting, or the quilting and the binding? And then if you send your stuff off to a long arm and they do that for you, don't select that option because it's not you doing it. That'd be cheating, right? Okay, so for me, it's definitely piecing. I love the piecing. That is my absolute go-to. I think if I had to rank them, it'd probably be piecing, and then we kind of toss up between the binding and selecting the fabric, because the binding for me, I know a lot of people don't like, but for me, that's the finish line. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. I can see it's going to be done. I get to gift it to whoever it's going to be, it's going to, even if that is me. That's definitely me there as well. But yeah, let me know in the poll which one you like. And if you're watching the replay, you can't vote in the poll, sadly, but you can tell me in the comments which one is your favorite as well. And then for me, basting is definitely my least favorite without question. Okay, so Fallon says she likes selecting fabric, but it can get overwhelming, so I choose piecing. That's a good point. Yeah, and I try to select from my fabric here. I don't I try not to go to the store if I can avoid it, just because I have so much here that I can use. And it's always kind of satisfying when I can select stuff from my own stash. Okay, so we've now got the bottom on, and I think this looks pretty cute where we got the red star right here. Not the red star, what's this thing called? A heart. I'll get it right in a minute. And then around the corner we have a pink one. Let me know what you think.
I love it. I think it's so cute. I've been watching you put that quilt together. I really love that.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing this all done eventually. We're getting very, very close. So, okay, so Chris says she loves binding. Mama Andrea says cutting is her least favorite. I won my very first kit on Leanna's live yesterday, and it's all pre-cut, so I'm very excited. Oh, that's fun. Now, that's one of the things I like about the cotton cuts puzzle mystery quilts and stuff is I don't have to cut any of that. I just unpack it and sew. So I like working on these tiny things, but it's also nice sometimes. It's also nice sometimes to just unpack and sew and not have to worry about that. Good evening, Jan. It's good to see you. She's my friend from Western Australia, and she's asking who my guest is. This is Tasha from Tasha Quilts. She's a fairly new YouTuber, and I thought it'd be fun to bring her on today and get to know you all. So thank you so much for hanging out with us for a little bit. That is really, really awesome. Okay, so Fallon's Art says, Chris, what the heck? I'm sending you my quilt tops to bind. That might be dangerous because I think Fallon knows where Chris lives. So no one's volunteered yet to do my basting yet, which I'm not surprised by. So, there's always hope, right?
I didn't really used to enjoy binding, but recently I'm toying with like piecing my bindings and scrappy bindings, and so not just doing a single color, and I really love that. So now binding is moving its way up my list because I'm jazzing it up a little bit.
Yeah, I was that way too. Like before I got comfortable with binding, it was I really despised it too. But now that I know what I'm doing, I'm really I don't mind it at all. Like, and I seem to be getting quicker at it too, which is nice. So
now, are you completely machine sewing your binding on, or are you hand sewing some of it?
Yeah. No hand up.
Me too. Completely hand sewing.
There's a lot of people that like hand binding, and I think it's fantastic because they'll sit there and watch a TV show or watch one of my old lives or one of someone else's lives, that sort of thing. There, it's a great way to do something portable. I think and I may try hand binding at some time, but at this point in my life, I want to get stuff done and move on to the next shiny project. So yeah, I'm in, out, and away I go. So I'm just dabbling with hand stitching now, but I'm sticking to simply labels on the back of a quilt and hanging sleeves for show quilts, and that's about as far as I've gotten so far. Okay, so Dragonflies for Donna says she'll do my basting if you do my binding and I do all the driving and delivery. We may have to talk about that. The driving I don't know about, but I do have I can go to the UPS store. So all kidding aside, though, with my basting, I don't hate it as much ever since I bought a fold-up 6-foot table about 12 months ago, and I just based on that. I set it up in the living room. I just laid a quilt on that, and it's so much easier than what I was doing before. So that has been my solution because I'm done rolling around on the floor. That's not my idea of fun.
Yes, I actually bought a large table. Thankfully, I have a sewing room, so I had room for a really big table. And we found it on Marketplace on Facebook, and it's, a taller table. And I now based all of my quilts on that table, and that is much better.
Well, see, I'm lazy. What I do is I set it up in the living room and I set it up right fairly close to the couch. So that way, once I get the first row or two done, I just sit on the couch and baste. Like, because I'm taller, I'm 6'5".
Oh,
Folks have said, yeah, you need to raise it and that sort of thing. They're like, no, I just sit down and do it, and saves my back that way. So there we go. All right, there we go. All right, so that's a lot of fun. Okay, so we've talked about that. Let's see, we'll roll our way down the question list. Do you have hobbies outside of quilting and sewing? I mean, you said that you're pretty much obsessed with this, so this has probably taken up most of your time. Same thing for me. So, there's no problem there. But, there are some out there that, knit, crochet, paint, garden. If you know how to garden, you're doing better than me. This is where my house is where plants go to die. That sort of thing there. Good morning. I did have someone hop in from Sweden, Ollie, which is neat. We've got Australia right now. And then Moran, I hope I don't butcher your name, says hi from Northern Ireland. It's good to see you as well. So we've got quite a nice little international crowd here this morning in Canada. I should mention that as well, US. And sometimes we get folks in from Bermuda and that sort of thing there as well. It's a little late in New Zealand. I think it's after midnight there, so we won't be seeing too many folks from there.
So I do have some hobbies outside of quilting. So we bought a house several years ago that has about like 7 acres. So I won't say that I do the gardening. My husband does most of that, but I do help with like what comes out of the garden. So we have a garden. We just got chickens this year, which are giving us 1 egg a day. So I'm not really quite sure that was worth our, the juice was worth the squeeze on those guys. I am the cliche out of the pandemic. I love sourdough bread and I'm making my sourdough starter. And I have dabbled with the crocheting, the knitting, the cross stitching kind of all along until I found quilting, but I will still do some cross stitch until I really found English paper piecing. And now I kind of do that when I'm in front of the TV instead of cross stitch. So I'm a dabbler. I dabble in lots of things.
Yeah, this is kind of my jam. I also, I think if you watched last week's podcast, you probably saw me working on a plate that I've been painting for the last 12 years that I do from time to time. So that's about it for me. Joy says she likes to bake. My wife likes to bake, and the girls like to bake too. I just like to enjoy the baked products and then do the dishes afterwards. Fallon says she needs help with labels. I probably only have 2 quilts out in the world that have labels. Yeah, put labels on your quilts. It was hard for me to get into that thing as well, but I do now have quilt labels. I went ahead and printed mine on spoon flour. I just made a label up and just said print a yard of that. And so I got like 100 labels for like $20. Someone suggested that because labels can be expensive if you're not careful. So, but yeah, I am putting labels on my quilts now. So, because if we do our job properly, these quilts may outlast us, and be nice for people to know where it came from once upon a time. So. Okay. Liana says chickens are not cheap pets, but they give me so much love, and they give you nice eggs and that sort of thing there as well. So we had chickens growing up.
We love them. They're so funny. They like know when I go out there that they're getting a snack, because I'm like, my husband does most of the taking care of. So usually I'm like throwing out the leftover strawberries or whatever little thing that the kids didn't eat. And so when they see me coming, they know there's a treat coming. They're really cute.
Oh yeah, they know. They are smarter than you think they are.
For sure.
Yeah, when I lived in Australia, right before I moved here, my parents bought a little farm about 75 acres when I just graduated high school, and they had chickens and geese and cows, goats, sheep. I mean, I think they had pretty much everything except pigs. Although the dogs probably qualify as pigs too. And one of the dachshunds decided to go harass the chickens one day, and apparently the chicken had enough and actually attached itself to the side of the dog and started pecking it. My mother had to hit it with a broom to get the chicken off, and he never went near the chickens again. So, do not underestimate your farm chickens, because they won't put up with any mess. So there we go. All right, Janine says she has to run. She's so excited to go see your quilts at the show. I'll she sub to your channel. Looking forward to meeting you at some point. That'd be a lot of fun there as well. So there
So
we go.
fun.
Okay, so that is cool. Okay. All right, so Jan likes cleaning her house. Apparently, she's got plenty of people that are volunteering their house. I mean, if you pay for an airline ticket from Perth, Australia to here, she may take you up on that offer. But airline tickets from Perth to here are not cheap. So you may be able to get like you might be able to get a cleaner for your house for a year less than what you'd have to pay for an airline ticket. So, but if not, let her know, and maybe you guys can work something out. Good morning, Elizabeth. It's good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so we've talked about that. Let's see, what else have we got going on here? Okay, so let's talk about your very first quilt. What was the first quilt you made? Do you still have it? And what did you learn from it? Like, do you, I know we learned something, well, at least I do. I learn something from every quilt that I make. I have a lesson.
So my first quilt that I made was I went to this, well, they called it a class, but it was really just a group of ladies that got together at a local high school and, chit chat and did a little sewing. And they were doing a mystery quilt. So I had never quilted anything or anything like that. And so I went to the fabric store with the list and I picked like the brightest fabrics. This was also me 10 years ago. I still like my pinks and yellows and bright colors. And I remember all the people at the quilt shop being like, are you sure about this? And so I pieced all the blocks and then it sat for 10 years because I just never wanted to finish it, or 8 years. I just finished it this year. So I started it in 2015 and I finished it this year. So it is actually hanging up in my dining room. And those bright colors looked great, even though they tried to talk me out of them. So I guess I learned that, do what you love and it'll probably work out. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. And
Yes.
and I've learned my love of quilting. It was a slippery slope after that.
Yeah, I think sometimes you need to put those projects away. I mean, I know, well, my first one took me like 6 months, and I just did a simple 6.5 inch square patchwork quilt. I started simple because I knew I was learning off YouTube. I didn't have anybody I could go ask for help. So I figured I might as well keep it simple. But the lesson I picked up from mine was that I tried doing the same patchwork design on both sides. I thought, okay, I'll do a double-sided quilt. This will be a lot of fun. And I went to try and line it up, and it was crooked, and that was just an absolute mess. So I put that thing to bed, and just went out and bought some regular backing fabric and did it that way. But yeah, I learned that. But that was a lot of fun. I still actually have the other side hanging around the house here somewhere. I tried looking for it the other day, and it's gone walkabout, but it'll reappear at some point. But yeah, I think sometimes too it's necessary to put a project away into what I call a sin bin for a while. Like there was one quilt that I think quilt kit that I purchased around 2015, just like you. And I went to put it together, and I just did not have the skills to do the piecing. And I put it to bed, and about 5 years later, pulled it out. And I did finish that quilt top and it was a whole lot easier because I knew what I was doing. So yeah, if something's not super, if it's not gelling with you, don't be afraid to put it in timeout. But just try and get back to it at some point, even if it's 5 years later.
I have a quilt that's sitting, I call it timeout too. One of my Brenda, my Canadian quilting friend, I call her, she taught me that's called timeout. So I have one in timeout right now because it was many years ago and it had these 1-inch squares, which I don't usually like to mess around with things that are 1 inch or smaller. And you had to do like the snowball corners. So I had you like mark with a pen. And back then I really would have listened to exactly what the instructions said. And I marked all these like 100 must be of these little squares with, but I used a disappearing ink pen that disappears with air. So I spent like an hour marking all of these squares. And then the next day I came down to sew and all of the lines had disappeared overnight. And I was like, okay. I just packed it up and I said no. And it is on my list to finish. I was going to try to get it done this calendar year. So we'll see. It was one of my New Year's resolutions to take that quilt out of timeout and finish it. But I felt the rage inside of me when I realized I used the wrong pen. I was just like, I can either burn this or I can put it on the shelf. So I put it in timeout.
Yep.
Very mad at myself.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a good lesson to learn. Like I had several quilt kits that I had. I think it was 2022. Was it 2022? I think it was. Yeah, I challenged myself to get them all east in that year because they'd been sitting around way too long, and I missed that deadline by 12 hours. But close enough.
It counts.
I think by the time I finished it, it was still like 11:59 p.m. or something like that in Hawaii. So therefore, I think it counts.
Definitely.
Fallon says she would have probably cried if that happened to her. Melanie Taylor says that her first was a cheetah cloth. Hey, you do whatever works for you. Like gets whatever helps you get started. I think is a good thing. I see some people have gone out and done some really, really intricate quilts as their first one, and more power to them. I'm so happy for you. I think was it this project or was it the Alice in Wonderland project? I was in the there was like a Zoom thing that John from Art East had, and their first quilt was one of these. Now they had a friend helping them, but yeah, some people go all out for their first quilt. I'm like, no. Like I have a big habit of doing that, like getting too excited and going overreaching. That's dangerous. So I'm glad I started simple.
Yeah, the first quilt I did, that was a mystery quilt, had like flying geese and all kinds of stuff in it. And I didn't even know what I didn't know back then, right? So I was just like, okay, yeah, I'll try this. And thank goodness for YouTube, because that's pretty much where I learned everything, just like most of the people here. But
yeah. I never really tried flying geese until I don't know why, but it just kind of worked out this way. But I never really tried flying geese until I was really, really proficient with half square triangles. So I kind of, flying geese to me was very, very easy for me to transition. But if I hadn't have done it that way, it would have been a whole different story.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about, we talked about your first quilt. I'm going to go back up here and let's talk about some of the favorite quilts that you've made. Do you have any favorites?
I do. Okay. I recently finished, and that's the one that is in the quilt show. It's called La Fin du Monde by Libs Elliott, is who she wrote the pattern, and Libs Elliott is really, I saw one of her quilts, the Bloom quilt, and that's what brought me back into my full obsession, full of lots of curves and geometric shapes and funkiness. And that La Fin du Monde is the biggest quilt I've ever done. I think it's 80 by 96. That was a monster. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did figure out how to use a long armor for that. I was like, okay, I cannot shove this through with my walking foot. And I mean, I could have, but I didn't. I liked myself more than that. So I did figure out a long armor to do that for me. But that quilt, it has a black backing with all these like vibrant colors. And I just absolutely love that quilt. That by far is my favorite one so far to date. How about you?
It changes all the time. This one here is probably probably my top 5, because it changes all the time. Like I asked this question about favorite quilts and that sort of thing there, and some people tell me a lot of people actually told me it's their first quilt, which is very, very interesting. And some people tell me it's whichever one they finish last, because you always start your new favorite. But yeah, I think this one would probably have to be one of my faves, and I now had the border around the whole edge, which is really nice. I think it just really makes this.
I love it.
Yeah. And so there's still a 2.5-inch border of the blue. It's got to go around the edge. So it's not quite done yet, but we're very, very close. And I really like it with the 2 different color hearts. I think that just really makes it.
I love that too. Now, will you quilt that yourself when you're done?
I'm on the fence. I really am on the fence. Because I'm trying to figure out what pattern I want to do with it. I'm open to suggestions. If you have an idea of a quilting design, let me know. But right now, if I had to quilt this thing tomorrow for a quilt show next week, first of all, I'd tell you it ain't happening. I'm thinking maybe just doing a simple crosshatch. That may
That's
just work.
I
I
default
don't
to
know.
that myself for a lot of things. It suits many quilts well.
Yeah, I did that for a well, I did early this year, the Fab Farm by Elizabeth Hartman. It was a small wall hanging I did. Well, not a wall hanger, it was a baby quilt. I ended up gifting it as a baby quilt. And the crosshatch looked really good on that. And I'm thinking that may just be what I do with this one here, because if I try and do like really fancy stuff, I'll be here until till the end of time doing it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll do some embellishments on like the lion's mane and that sort of thing there. But I may just but I don't know. Maybe we'll just do the crosshatch. Let me know in the comments or that sort of thing there what you would do. I would love to hear your input. But I do need to I would like to get this finished sooner rather than later, because I'd love to enter this into the Mid Atlantic Quilt Show next year, which is a show nearby to me. I have no expectations of getting a ribbon. This is like a national, a fairly big show of entries from around the country. I just want to see it hanging and for people to admire, just to admire it. I guess it's sounding a little self-centered. To be able to see it and enjoy it, I think is the words I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I want to do with this. So I really kind of would like to get it done. And then also for it to be able to be used. I myself and my wife will probably use this quilt. This one will not leave the house. I love you all, but I can't let this one go. This one has to stay with me. So there we go. So let's see. Kathy says her first quilt is a favorite. She finished it in June 2023 for her first granddaughter. That one's a fun quilt. I remember you making that one. Rag quilts is what Joyce says. Let's see. Moran said join class to learn. And then Amy was talking about the Austin quilt shows in a couple of weeks down near her, and it's like got 350 quilts. It'll be a lot of fun to go see as well. So there we go. All right, so we've talked about that. We've got about 10 minutes left because we do need to finish up early. I did want to ask you, though, about the ghost behind you. Which pattern is that?
So this is called Night Folly, and I actually tested this pattern for so earlier this year I went through a pattern writing course, and I met Erin. Her name's Hexen House on Instagram, and
Okay.
she designed this pattern, Night Folly. It's really neat. If you're into like Halloween quilts, I would recommend giving it a look. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure pattern. But
Oh,
anyway,
nice.
I made this quilt or this block in florals, and I don't know about, it just reminded me of a bed sheet and like a little quilt under a bed sheet. And I normally work in solids, and there was just something about this little quilt block and florals that just spoke to me. So now I went and bought a bunch of more florals. And I think over the course of the next year or so, whenever I need to switch something up, I'm going to make myself a little army of little ghosties and floral prints. So very cute. Definitely would, if you're interested in Halloween stuff. It's a neat little pattern.
Awesome. Sorry, I'm just looking at the pattern to make sure I do this correctly. Yes. Either side. Top and so we do the top and the bottom first. Okay. All right. You know what? I'm going to get confused, so I'm just going to stop.
I got one seam done, so I did pretty good multitasking. I was like, there's no way I'll be able to multitask chatting in my sewing machine. So,
oh yeah, because there's so many pieces that's going around. But yeah, I think that ghost looks great. It looks very similar to a pattern that's by another Instagram creator. Her name is keep on the call Lauren. I think it's Kristen over at Woolly Petals. And she makes some beautiful, beautiful patterns, and so it looked very similar to hers. But I'm sure there's several ghosts out there that look similar. Good morning to Miss Annette. I didn't see you pop in earlier, but it's good to see you. And good morning to Kathleen. I know you're up early out there in California. So good to see you as well. So there we go. All right. Andrea says she had two favorites. One is a Lone Star quilt I did an old animal print, and the second is a Dresden quilt done in red hot chili peppers fabric with dark blue and green sparkle background. Those sound fantastic. I'll have to go check those ones out there as well. And you said you liked working with solids. I don't come across many people like myself that really enjoy working with solids. So yeah, no wonder you and I get along so well.
I almost exclusively use solids right now. That surprised me a lot that floral, I was kind of flipping through my stash and saw it and was like, oh, this would be cute for a ghost. But other than that, almost everything I've made in recent history has been solids. Kona.
Yeah,
I love Kona solids right now.
you are my spirit animal. That is a good thing. Yeah, I love me some kind of solids too. And the thing I like about solid is it's half the price of the other fabric, so you get more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
And it can be a bit harder to work with for certain things. You kind of have to use your imagination. But this is proof that you can make something absolutely stunning just with solids. This is everything is solids. Even the sparkle stuff is Kona solids. They have I forget what it's called now. It's Kona Sheen. I'll get it right in a minute. And it's actually, and the question I get all the time is, how does this stuff sew? And it actually sews pretty much like regular cotton. It's not as rough or it's not as hard to go through as you might think. I mean, it feels a little different, but it on the one side, but it really just does sew just like anything else as well. So there we go. All right. So with that, we've got like 5 minutes left before we need to duck off because I need to get my hair cut and the appointment got pushed forward 30 minutes. So it's cutting into my lifetime, but that's okay. What do you have going on in your channel in the near future? I know you've just gotten started, but do you have anything planned that's coming up that you'd like to share with us, or is this secret stuff that you just still working on?
No secret stuff. But I am working on like my second quilt pattern. I think I mentioned that earlier. And so I'm going to be like sewing up the sample quilt. So I'll probably make a video doing that and just kind of my process for that. And yeah, I think maybe just some more tutorial, like I use Canva for a lot of things, technology for a lot of things, and maybe just showing people how I use Canva or how I use the different software tools I use to design things. So just kind of really, I started the YouTube channel because I loved talking about quilting, and my husband was getting sick of listening to me talk about quilting as he does not quilt. So it's not that enjoyable for him. So I really just am hoping to, all these things that I'm so excited to tell somebody about, just tell it to YouTube and maybe find my people that want to listen to what I have to say about it, because
I think you will. They listen to me each and every week, and I appreciate that so much. But yeah, I think you found the right place. So all right, let's see. Okay, so Laura Lynn was here. It's good to see you. She says, take care, everyone, and enjoy today. Thanks for a great show. Go check out her channel if you haven't already done so. I'll throw it in. It should be ! Mom, if I can actually type. What is wrong with me this morning? You never know. Annette is here with us as well. Okay. Okay. And then did we see you? Joyce, it's good to see you. I don't know if I said good morning to you or not. Okay, Joyce says she's back and watch from the beginning. I've been in and out. You're doing yard work. Yard work's never fun, but it's good to do it this time in the morning before it gets too hot as well. So that makes perfect sense as well. And who else popped in? Oh, my friend Linda says good morning. Sean and Tasha and all in chat. Okay, so for me, what have I got going on? Well, I've got a haircut later on this morning, and then podcast tomorrow morning, and we'll probably have some time lapses going on because we're almost done with the Cheshire Cat, which I'm super excited about. So that time lapse will hopefully go out the next week or two, and then we'll do some other fun stuff. And then I think, was it this coming week? Clue 3 of the Puzzle Mystery Quilt comes out. Let me go check my calendar because I have it all written on that. No, we're not delivering the State Fair quilt. That was last month. Hang on. No. Looking at August instead of September. Okay. So, yeah. And then you'll see the time lapse for Clue 3 of the Wild West Puzzle Mystery Quilt this Friday morning. So that'll be a lot of fun as well. And then, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to see some of the, what's it called? The Winnie the Pooh, the 100 Acre Woods. That will start in early October. So, lots of fun stuff coming up over at the Guy Who Sews very soon. And then 6 p.m. tonight, come over and check out Becca's channel to see what sort of craziness we all get up to with our jelly rolls. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I apologize it was abbreviated, but our schedule got changed up last minute. We figured an hour is better than nothing. So thank you so much, Tasha, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed your time here with us and all the guests. It was so much fun having you. You were a wonderful guest, and we'll definitely have you back on in the very near future. So good night to Miss Jan. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody else. I hope you'll have a happy sewing day. Come back at 10 over to Donnell, and then Russ and Tammy at 11, and everybody else. And just have a wonderful, happy sewing day. Hopefully Jack stays in his little home and you don't need to bring him out, and we'll see you all next time. Happy sewing.